hopefully Simon's talk gave you a bit of food for thought there, and hopefully you've all found your way to the right room. So in here we are focusing more on kind of business analysis, delivery managers, those working in the product space. There will be some overlap with everything Simon kind of covered, but this session is designed more for those of you who are kind of very much at that beginning of your journey with AI and going, what is it, how can I use it, etc. I am not our head of AI. I think I've got the worst job at BGSS. No. So we did consider having our AI specialist leading the whole session, and kind of went, do you know what, actually we want to tailor it more to what you would all want to know. And given that kind of beginning of the journey, it felt a bit more credible, therefore, to have people like me talking about AI and how I've used it and how I kind of got to grips with it and how it's helped me. So we can therefore hopefully guarantee that the information will be a bit easier to digest and a bit more kind of will make sense to you. So in the room we've got Ellie, Donna, Lewis and I, who kind of have a wealth of experience across delivery management and analysis. And then Russell, you're going to have to wave. Russell is one of our senior technical architects who has a bit more experience with AI than us. So if you've got any mean questions, please, Russell, wave again. Yeah, Russell for any more interesting questions you have, please. So we are going to try and whiz through these slides because we did say this was going to be hands-on, and hands-on is not stood here listening to me talk. So in terms of what we're going to cover, we are going to dedicate most of the session to getting hands-on with 3 Gen AI tools. We're focusing on 3 separate ones, so we will kind of demo them on the 3 separate stations we've got here. Ellie's going to explain all that in a minute to make that make a bit more sense. Before we delve into that, we just wanted to cover kind of what you need to know, consider, and prepare for when kind of picking up AI and using it in your day-to-day jobs. So we're going to, as a quick overview, we're going to cover reasons why AI is kind of becoming such an essential part of modern work, how to evaluate if it's suitable for a given task in your work, and also touch on kind of that more sort of responsible use of AI, how to measure its value to make sure you get successful adoption of it. And then we'll go on to those 3 stations, and Ellie's going to tell you a little bit more about the tools that we're going to be getting hands-on with as well. So some of this, just to reiterate at a lower level, higher level, what Simon's talked on already, in terms of kind of why you need to adopt AI, why you might want to consider that. AI can automate those repetitive tasks that are tedious, that quite frankly none of us really want to be doing because they can be quite boring, and it will make other tasks more efficient. So it can also be a game changer when it comes to innovation, help you think out the box, help you generate new ideas, be that thing you can bounce ideas off as well, streamline processes and also predict trends. So ultimately with all of that, it can give you a bit of a competitive advantage, be that amongst your peers, be that with your customers, whatever it might be for you. And because it is constantly learning, it can help you stay ahead. And then I've kind of touched on that one before already, but it can assist with those tasks that you might find really tedious, like that grunt work stuff, and give you therefore more opportunities to work on the stuff where you're actually using that brain and getting more into that interesting analysis or whatever it might be. Me personally, I guess ChatGPT is probably the thing I've had the most experience with since I've sort of touched AI, if you like, and it definitely has allowed me at times to kind of get quicker to a result rather than doing that thinking bit at the beginning, and allow me to be a bit more creative, a bit more efficient in what I do. So hopefully it'll give you a bit of a feel for that today as well. So in terms of what to think about when you're getting started with it, firstly, like, what are you actually trying to achieve with AI? Are you wanting to generate text, create images, something else entirely? Different tools specialize in different things. So really doing the whole, I want to use AI probably isn't going to get you there. You need to kind of go, what is the thing I'm actually wanting to do, so that you can get to that tool selection piece. And then when you're on that, I guess there's the like, how tech savvy are you? You know, there's the AI where it's basically a chatbot and you're speaking to it in English and it's giving you some useful replies. And then at the other end of the scale, there's that stuff where you need to be able to write code and really understand some really far more technical things to be able to install it. So just getting a feel for that and probably starting with something simpler if you're at the less tech savvy end of the scale is a good way to start, and you really can do that. Business acceptance is a really important thing. So make sure the tools, terms of services match your company's policies. Anything you type into an AI tool, that's going to be used by that tool going forward for it to learn and for it to spit things out at the next person. So make sure there's no unauthorized data sharing going on. And also think about, in the sector you work in, is there any applicable legislation that you need to be thinking about before you kind of open all of that up to the big wide world. License-wise, I guess there's quite a lot you can do without having to pay for anything. Certainly in my case, I've managed to use AI quite helpfully for my job without having to buy any licenses. But ultimately, the more you pay, the more enhanced features you're going to get. Some of those things where you're like, oh, I've now hit a wall because I didn't pay, how annoying. So making sure you understand what license makes sense for the use you're wanting to do is important. Training-wise, you can absolutely get stuck in with AI without any training. Like with anything, there will be additional features. There'll be neat ways of using it that you are going to learn better if you complete some training. So we've put some QR codes on the tables that have just got some easy links to kind of access some training on AI tools. And then finally, there's that benefits realization, tracking success piece. So as with anything, I mean, given the roles you do, this probably is preaching to the converted, but making sure you understand what you're trying to achieve and actually, is it achieving that? So measuring, is ChatGPT or whatever tool you're using, is it actually delivering that? Is it actually delivering value? Or are you just using AI and that's fun, isn't it? But not actually getting those benefits. So make sure you're kind of conscious of that as well. So in terms of business uses, just wanted to kind of touch on this, but you'll get a feel for this as you go around the stations later as well. In the delivery management space, you can use AI to create your planning templates. It will then neatly update them as you find out more about the project, or as constraints change on engagement or whatever as well. It will retain your chat history, so you can look back as well on kind of what you've said and where it's changed things. And really great as well at streamlining business case generation, particularly if you've got standard parts or common risks and benefits and things that you want to pull into different business cases. From a research point of view, one thing AI is amazing at is taking vast amounts of data from multiple sources and helping summarize that for you. It doesn't replace thoroughly checking that, so make sure you ask it to give you its sources so you can check that it's not taken something that someone else's input that was actually a waste of time and not actually what you needed. And then again, in that research space, whether it's coming up with sample questionnaires or surveys or questions that you might want to ask people as part of your research, it's a really, really useful tool. Again, some of that's that, does this really need my brain to figure this thing out? Can I get a starter for 10 and then delve into it more, get a bit more specific. Design-wise, that brainstorming piece, I think I mentioned it before. I am someone who, the way I like to work is bounce ideas around with people. There's not always a person there, so using AI for that can be phenomenal. Equally, it kind of coming up with the initial suggestion and then you can build on that can be really helpful. Creating personas, I guess, is the other one I really want to talk about there. It can be quite tedious that, which 3 personas do I need for this hotel booking app or whatever it might be. You can get it to give you that stuff for free, basically. Analysis-wise, it can just help with the easy stuff, the tedious stuff. It can also help with where you might have multiple BAs working on the same thing and you want to make sure the user stories are all consistent, or you want to make sure they all meet certain criteria format-wise or whatever. So really useful for that kind of quality check, etc. And again, as I said with research, if there's that thing you need to gen up on, that bit of domain knowledge where you're going to have to read 50 million documents to get up to speed on it, well, you can ask it AI to give you the condensed version of that to get up to speed on the topic quickly. So loads of different things it can do. There's a little bit of just have a play with it, and then it'll just kind of spiral. Spiral sounds like it's going out of control. It'll develop from there. Build, thank you. So Donna's going to do the next few slides, and then we'll hand over to Ellie for the hands-on.
Thank you. So to start with, kind of how do we decide if AI is the right solution? So I think it's really important to only use AI where there's a clear benefit, not for the sake of it, or because you've been to this event today and you think you'd be able to try some bits out. Make sure you're avoiding delegating AI tasks if they're highly specialised or require deep technical knowledge. So it can be unsuitable for sensitive tasks such as security, clinical, safety concerns. And it's always worth considering, actually, can a human perform a task faster and more effective than AI? And then there's just a few considerations we wanted to touch on. So, and I think some of this shows, and Samuel touched on as well, so checking the context. AI lacks the understanding of context beyond what you've actually submitted. So make sure you're reviewing outputs, making sure they're appropriate, and also not insensitive as well. And actually, regularly evaluate, is this useful? Is it actually, being more effective? Is it driving quality? Is it driving efficiency from that side of things? And verifying the accuracy, it can be at mistakes and it can misunderstand. I mean, it can be quite funny at sometimes, but in different situations, it's really important that we verify the information that we provide is correct. And watch out for issues that AI can be biased, discriminatory, or it may use copyright content as well. So always be mindful of that. So let's talk just in a little bit more detail about how we make sure that we're using AI responsibly. So if you are using AI in a project, it's really important that, as with any other project, you track and manage associated risks. So assess whether incorrect information from an AI tool could impact delivery, and make sure you're mitigating the risk by either excluding AI from sensitive parts or having a subject matter expert and to validate the outputs. So super important. Also, remember that kind of the effectiveness of AI depends on the quality of its training data, and it often uses extensive data, including potentially yours. So make sure that your business is comfortable with sharing the data, and make sure that we're not exposing any personal or sensitive data as well. And that's why it's really important to communicate transparently with users and your stakeholders within the business about its use, and make sure that we're always following that proper risk management practices. So I think the bit with this, and I know Simon touched a bit, but we're going to go on a bit of a different angle of why tracking success can help you. So really, you need to make sure that the AI is used effectively, responsibly, and we talked about making sure that it adds value to both your project and organisation. So it's kind of that bit as well. We talked about, there's a lot of free licenses, but actually a lot of businesses will need to do quite a bit of investment as well. And it's really important that you are tracking that success so you can justify the investment, and that's a part of continued use as well. So like I said, some tooling is free, but for more enhanced features, you may be looking at significant investment and maybe getting into that business case territory to be able to put your case forward. Think about what success looks like. So this is really important. Do you want to reduce the time your analysis is taking? Do you want to look at kind of elevating the quality of your outputs? Or are you just wanting to kind of drive a bit of consistency across the team? Or like Joe touched on, do you just want to remove some of the grunt work, which is what I do quite a lot. And from that bit going into the next bit around kind of identifying some clear KPIs. So for example, I think a key one would be actually what is the average time to get from a high level epic to a beautifully, I think this will be Ellie's wording, beautifully refined backlog of user stories with amazing acceptance criteria as well. And that's why it's really important to baseline your current performance. So appreciate you might not measure this kind of thing, previously, and also it might not be a kind of exact science as well. But because you may need to justify the investment, it's really important that you do measure that success. And people talk about then how you monitor it going forward. And I think that depends on what do you want to get out of it. So is it, you want to trial AI for 12 weeks? Or is it 3 epics? I think it's about finding what makes sense for your team but always make sure that you're monitoring kind of that uptake, compliance, any policies that you've put in place as well as alongside the metrics, because it's that side where it's usually where people are feeling a bit nervous about kind of rolling AI out across the business, and make sure you're checking that it has had that desired effect, and if you don't set that out from the beginning, it's really hard to track that further down the line. And really importantly, make sure you are, we talk about, and I know some are like, AI and Agile don't work together. It's the first time I've heard him say that. But with these, the bit we do need to take is that we constantly review and iterate. And so you might find it works brilliantly for workshops, but not so much for user stories. So make sure that you are continuing to iterate. So I am conscious we've done a little bit too much talking today. But before we get started, I'm just going to hand over to Eleanor, and she's going to talk about through the tools and the plan for the rest of the session.
So, tiny bit more talking, and then we're almost at the hands-off bit. So we're going to have 3 stations, which are the 3 tables, and we're going to use a different AI tool on each. The intention is very much you move around. You don't just have to pick one, and that's the tool for the evening. We want you to have a go at each of them. We're going to have Russell on this table, who's going to look after Copilot, and then we're going to have Lewis and Donna at the table at the back, who are going to utilise the bespoke AI functionality that we've got, and then Joe and myself are going to work on this table and having to play with ChatGPT. At each station, we're going to give you some handouts. One of them is going to have some quick fire things to try, which you type them, give them a go, and then the other is going to have a challenge for you to do. So the idea is you can kind of work through it as a group and kind of get a bit more hands-on, kind of see the differences between the functionalities. Joe mentioned them, but we've also got QR codes, so by all means please scan those. We can reference them at a later date. We will then come back together at the end at 7:20 to wrap things up. And if you are interested in learning more about BGSS and how we're utilising AI with our clients, we do have videos which are playing in Kirkgate, which is a room just outside. We will have drinks and pizza arriving at some point. We will open the doors when it's kind of safe to go outside. The other talk's finished, so we just need to stay put for now. But before we kick off, I'm just going to quickly talk through the capabilities of each tool. As we all know, tools are not multi-purpose. You use different tools for different things, and AI is exactly the same. So with ChatGPT, it's really good at general knowledge type questions, explaining concepts, providing summaries. It can do those fresh ideas for projects, kind of bounce ideas off of things, and it's nice at drafting emails. Joe met someone who now never writes their own emails, they just use ChatGPT to respond to them. So it can do all of those nice creative writing pieces. And it can do translations. So if you're learning a language, you can have a chat with a ChatGPT to kind of practice. With Microsoft Copilot, it's in the name, but it integrates with all of the Microsoft applications, so it can draft content, create reports, manage emails in Outlook, it can assist with Excel type things, you can get data making charts. If your formula's not working, it can try and explain to you why it's not working and propose the formula that will. And then if you use MS Word regularly, you've probably already seen that it's really good at improving your content, so it will recommend clarity changes, grammar, those sorts of things, and you don't even need a Copilot license to use that functionality. And then it can streamline things like scheduling tasks, follow-ons, all of that fun stuff in Outlook. Last but not least, we've got our bespoke AI. So this is a secure internal tool that we built at BGSS. It combines the AI capabilities of a large language model interface, but with our content. So the key thing there is that we trained it on our information. So it's got our bid information, our sales information in. So it allows us to kind of get a head start when we're writing all of those new bids. It is not possible for one person at BGSS now to know every single project that we're working on and that we have worked on. So that AI tool we use to kind of give us a head start on bid writing, translating technical content into simple language, and helps describe how we would do something with this kind